Hi all, Kevin1 here, and today I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's going on and this crazy thing between Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition. And everybody knows when you kind of flip a 2 upside down, it kind of looks like a 5, and vice versa. So these are so vastly different. I recently got my hands on the Mythical Odysseys of Theros, and I also got my hands on the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide. And there's so much to go over. And once again, the frequency at which these books are coming out, and they're just sucking me in. That, and then you have the new console generation, and you get absorbed into that. It's hard for me to pick one thing and stick with it. So my thoughts today are going to be on what I think the systems are doing well and where I think they need improvement. So, what D&D 5th edition is doing well? It is simple. Where do I think it needs improvement? Honestly, it's doing quite well. I do think it needs to be a little more lethal at times. Of course, Runehammer is working on, or has completed, the hardcore 5th edition, and it seems a lot more tangible to me, because it's like you can do some really stupid stuff in 5th edition and survive according to how it's done. And it's very forgiving, and so that's really the only place I think it needs improvement. Let's talk about Pathfinder 2nd edition. What does it do well? Options. Where does it need to improve? Options. There's so many good options and so many bland options that it's almost muddied. And what do I mean? A lot of the backgrounds are just 2 abilities, the 2 ability lists, one of which you have to choose between 2 things. And then you get a skill, a lore-based skill. Occasionally you get to choose the lore-based skill, and this is the majority of them. And then you get a skill feat. There are some exceptions with the rare backgrounds in the Advanced Player's Guide. So I'm looking at this stuff, and as you guys know, I'm working on my own, but it's like the Advanced Player's Guide gives you a lot of great options, and the Character Guide does as well, for Pathfinder 2nd. There's so many little interesting things, but at the same time, I don't feel either character creation gives you that fully versed character like Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, does. Like, honestly, I'm trying to break these things down into questions and answers that way, because I love the way characters are developed in Conan. Absolutely. It is my favorite method of development. Roll or choose. And that can be GM's discretion right there. And the fact it's got that option is just absolutely perfect. It reminds me of the Warhammer 4th edition. I do not have that, but without the ridiculous penalty of deciding that, oh look, I'm going to role play something I want to, and I'm not held back as much as somebody that just rolled for it. And I say it's ridiculous, but at the same time, I believe that's just a suggestion, honestly, because it's like, you want to play a game you want to play. You don't want to play a game Conan does it the best way. Like, I feel that Pathfinder 2 has too many options, and they're so specific. It's almost like creating a character in 3rd edition all over again, where you have all the stuff and no real direction unless you want to follow this very specific tree. But there's not the specification except within the class now, and that's really good. But the general feats just seem, well, you have to invest a lot of time into building the character you want. And Conan just does it best. Like, I reviewed the Book of Skelos, and you have different character creation for different types of characters. And that ultimately leads to less cluttered results, because you get to go between them, and there's a strong difference between the materials in one book and the materials in another book. You have a definitive purpose for the secondary book. And I feel that the Advanced Player's Guide is very generalized to both its strength and its fault. Now, so something I find cool about the Mythic Odysseys of Theros is you have the way the deities function on that plane. And I think that system, and to an extent the patron aspect, would go really well in a Ravenloft-like setting. Imagine the Dark Lords could invest you with power, and basically you were doing some Game of Thrones type stuff, and the Dark Lords could occasionally break free, but you had to achieve certain patron-related activities with the Dark Lords to get them to fully clash with other realms and take them over. Like, I think that would be mind-bogglingly epic. And Mythic Odysseys of Theros really encapsulates that idea. For me, it's definitely its own thing. It is fantastic Greek mythology-esque, but I love Ravenloft. That's where I'm at. And another complaint I have about the 2nd edition is that in the core rulebook, that, yeah, we all know it's Galarion, but you're giving very specific regional information. And for me to utilize or edit these skills or feats or skill feats or abilities that are related to the ethnicities of Galarian, I have to know about that region. Now, if you told me that Isengard, I believe that's what it's called, the cold area with the Agabaga, if you were to just say a cold region or regionally cold area, for some of these feats and perks or whatever, it would make far more sense. Because if I'm making my own world and I really want to use Pathfinder 2nd Edition for the base system, then I have to convert these ideas. And I definitely would want my players' help and feedback on that, because GM should not be working alone. Like, if your players are from this region, they should know about the region. Like, they heard about these ice witches from growing up in tales. Nobody's ever seen them in generations. But then, one night, you hear the cries of wolves off in the distance, but it's like they're singing. They're calling. And the orphans start to disappear. Where are they going? The next day, your group leads a search party out into the woods and finds the frozen corpses of 5 orphans, all with distinctive markings and patterns that chill you, not because it's cold, but because it's reminiscent of the old lady's tale that she used to tell you as a child. And as you gaze through the forest, you see distinct imprints in the snow, and a gust of wind blows a red, snowy mist your way. I don't think those kids are having hot chocolate tonight. Boom! Okay, so tell me what you think. I want your guys' impressions of 5th edition and 2nd edition, D&D Pathfinder, and what for you either makes the system or breaks the system, and as a generalized system. Like, part of it for me is the world connection to both settings. I really like how 3rd edition D&D was using Greyhawk, because Greyhawk felt very generic and not so heavily Tolkien, but for whatever reason, the way that 5th edition feels, it feels very Tolkien in some way, and even though Lord of the Rings is right there in 5th edition now, it just feels that the Forgotten Realms is almost a substitute for that, whereas Greyhawk was like, here's a skeleton, build on it. And with 2nd edition Pathfinder, the world is very full, it's very vibrant, it's got history, it's got lore, and of course they want to put that in with the material of the core rulebook, but at the same time, they don't say, like, here's this region that this feat must be taken in for Galarian, but if you're using your own, it's got to be an icy region or whatever. All right, please just leave some comments. Yeah, which edition do you want to do? Yeah, thanks. Everyone out.